Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
I wanted to get your reaction to this, Jamie. Patrick Monteverde got called up over the weekend. Got called up Friday night for the Miami Marlins and pitched on Saturday. But, you know, for a guy who's 27 years old and had some injuries and has persevered and battled, that's pretty cool for him to get called up like he did.
Yeah, no doubt. Awesome for him. Remember, Patrick started his college career at a D3 school.
Yeah.
And moved up to D2 before coming to the Red Raiders, and obviously, he pitched well for you in his one season here. So, an older guy to begin with. By the time he, got to minor league baseball and all that. So, for him to get to the big leagues is pretty awesome. Didn't have the most awesome outing, and got designated for assignment again on Sunday.
Right.
So he's back into the minor leagues.
Yeah, he went 3 2/3, allowed 4 runs, 9 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, threw 87 pitches. But I guess it's what his manager, Clayton McCullough, said, that I think they were at least impressed with his performance. He said he gave us much-needed length today. This is after the ball game on Saturday. He said, for him to come here and do that for us while we end up losing the game, you hope that at least sets you up in a better position for tomorrow. Today was a shorter start than we were hoping for out of their starter. But for Patrick to basically get through the bulk of that game and do the job that he did in his major league debut, there was a lot asked, and then stretch him out. For him to come here and do that for us while we end up losing this game, you hope that sets us up better. So hopefully he'll get another shot.
He was basically asked to just wear one.
Yeah.
I mean, we get we're not going to win this game. Their bullpen was already depleted. That was one of the reasons that they brought him up, because they had kind of worn out their bullpen and knew he was going to get used pretty quickly, just didn't know how long he was going to go for. And even though it wasn't pitcher perfect, they kept him in there just because they needed to save some of those bullpen arms. So he was asked to wear one for the Marlins, and he was happy to be pitching in the big leagues to do it, I guess.
Sure,
so
yeah.
Hopefully he does get another chance, though, absolutely.
And, you get, like you said, he got designated for assignment, so they probably told him that coming up. It's like, hey, you're here for today.
Yeah, I bet he knew that. Yeah,
you're here for today, but, man.
Designated assignment or sent back down?
He got DFA'd. Yeah, so there'll be a decision made. Yeah. Whether he goes back to the AAA club or whether they release him
outright. Yeah. So that's tough. I mean, it's the highest of highs and then a low. But that's baseball, right? That's just the way baseball go, as they say. We spoke about this about a half an hour ago, real quick. But your basketball team is starting to shape up a little bit. I mean, you've got 11 on your roster right now, considering that some of these guys come back. That the one that didn't play last year, Jazz Henderson, and then one that. And he was injured, and then Jack Francis, who was, a guy that was a role player, practice player for you, and then you made some additions since we've last spoken. Nolan Groves was a 2025 Minnesota Gatorade High School Player of the Year, 6'5", averaged 34 points, 8.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals as a senior. So far, he's the
high school kid.
He's the high school kid, right? He's a high school kid. He hadn't been anywhere else yet, so that's good. He had previously committed to Yale before flipping to the Red Raiders. He also had a future visit scheduled for Minnesota, but has now committed to Texas Tech. So you got to think he's a smart kid.
Yeah, you would think so. He's committed to Yale.
Committed to Yale. I mean, they just don't let anybody in there. And then you also picked up Josiah Mosley, who had been at Villanova. He's committed to Texas Tech. If you go to doubleTSportsNetwork.com, you'll see an article written there where he's described as a super athletic rebounder, particularly on the offensive glass. In limited action last year, shot 58% from the floor. Attacks the glass, is particularly adept at following shots. Boy, you love that.
Definitely a guy that will get out in transition. He's got serious hops. He's super, super athletic. Just watching the video of him, not necessarily the greatest of outside shooters, but he's more of a slasher and a finisher. And so clearly that's something that Coach McCaslin felt like this team needed. Didn't average a whole lot last year with Villanova, but a guy that was a 4-star coming out of high school a year ago. And so despite the fact that he only scored a couple of points a game for Villanova, clearly Coach McCaslin feels like, and it looks like a good wingspan too, so probably a good defender as well, but a guy that would fit with the mix that you have.
Are you surprised at Federico entering the transfer portal?
I guess nothing surprises me anymore. But honestly, I thought he'd be a guy that would stick around. I thought he would be a guy that you'd want to keep around. Mm-hmm. So, but I have no idea. I don't know if this was a money decision or was he wanting to go away from that style of player decision. It's hard for me to guess.
Averaged 5.1 points a game, and 4.5 rebounds a game. So he began his career at Pitt. Now he's leaving Texas Tech, and he's going on to someplace else. He's packed his bags and moving on. So I'm sure somebody will go, 6'11", man, we can use this guy. Is he 7 foot? Can we measure him?
Maybe.
It was really funny. And probably the first time I've ever heard an athlete say it like this. But Jakeem Grant was on Thetford Nashby on Saturday as part of him being in town for the spring game. And they asked him how tall he was, because Jakeem is a free agent right now, and he's recovering from an injury, and it feels like that he will lock on with somebody with his speed and talent. And he'd like to get a 10th year in the NFL. It's crazy to think that Jakeem Grant has been in the NFL for that period of time. But one of them asked him how tall he was. He's like, well, I think I'm 5'6", but I'm 5'7" in my shoes. And I was like, good for you, Jakeem. Finally found somebody else that is a believer being measured in their shoes.
It helps.
Right.
Gives you another inch.
He's not running out there in his stocking feet, right? Mm-hmm. So at any rate, Jakeem he's still fast. He's still got some speed. It's just he's struggled to stay healthy.
Yes, he sure has.
That's the problem for Jakeem. All right, 6:40 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet973.com for that, of the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. This day in sports history is next.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Is Monday, April the 21st, 2025. It is not the last Monday in April, by the way.
Oh, no. What will we do?
Just trying to be informative.
Just kind of the way you said it there. This is not the last Monday. Oh, no. We'll have to deal with another one of these. Because, they come around every 7 days.
Boy.
1967. Dodgers' first rainout in Los Angeles. This is after 737 consecutive games.
Wow. I will have to admit, when I saw and heard that it was raining Friday in Tucson, it was just like, or in Tempe, it's just like, it hardly ever rains there.
When we were at Grand Canyon, they told us it rains like 6 to 8 days a year. And it rained on the Friday in Grand Canyon, and it rained Friday in Tempe. So there's 2 of the 8. It was really cold on Friday, too.
And then turn around, then we had the rain come through here, and I was reminded of what our good buddy Matt Ernst says about the great city of Lubbock. We get about 30 inches of rain a year, something like that. You should be here the 3 days it happens.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
1977, quite possibly one of my favorite Billy Martin stories happens. He pulls the Yankee line out of a hat, and they beat the Blue Jays 8-6. I mean, it goes to show you how good that team was, and how not needed he was for that team to succeed.
On certain days, that could have gone miserable. On certain days, it could have gone well. Yeah.
1989, George W. Bush and Edward W. Rose become joint CEOs of the Texas Rangers. In 2000, Marco Cunningham's 3-for-4 day, including a double, 2 steals, and a walk with 2 RBI, as Texas Tech beats Kansas 9-4. And in 2012, proving that, anything can happen, Chicago White Sox starting pitcher Phil Humber pitches the 21st Major League Baseball perfect game against the Seattle Mariners. It is National Chickpea Day, also Chocolate-Covered Cashew Truffle Day.
I don't know what a chickpea is.
It's a vegetable.
Okay.
I mean, it's a type of pea.
Okay.
James McAvoy is 46. Iggy Pop, 78.
Iggy Pop.
Tony Danza, 74. Tony Romo, 45. And Jack Leiter, 25. And on this day, 1836, in present-day LaPorte, Texas, near Deer Park, the final and decisive battle of the Texas Revolution took place. Led by General Sam Houston, the Texas Army engaged and defeated General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna's Mexican army in a fight that lasted just slightly longer than this segment of 18 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
General Santa Anna, the president of Mexico, and General Martin Perfecto de Caz both escaped during the battle, but Santa Anna was captured the next day on the 22nd and Caz on April 24th. After being held for about 3 weeks as prisoners of war, Santa Anna signed the peace treaty that dictated that the Mexican army leave the region, paving the way for the Republic of Texas to become an independent country. Sam Houston became national celebrity, and Texas rallying cries from the events of the war, "Remember the Alamo, remember Goliad," became etched into the Texan history and legend. Happy birthday, Texas. And that is this day in sports history.
All right, this day in sports history, 6:49 this morning here on the morning drive. Just some thoughts and comments from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Very early on this morning, great series win for Texas Tech softball. Arizona was a good team, but the Red Raiders got it done. They sure did.
Winning the last 2 was impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're inching their way towards, I don't know about inching, they're moving their way towards a Big 12 title in the regular season.
Yeah, I think inching is probably not the right word. Yeah. They've blown towards it. Yeah.
Blown towards it. This Friday's game was frustrating for Red Raider baseball because it appeared with 2 or 3 discussions before they finally postponed the end of the game that perhaps one of the umpires was saying, "Not yet, wait until Arizona State ties it up." I know, I'm just a disgruntled fan. Okay. I don't know if he was lip reading or if he was just thinking that they were thinking that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the umpires... Okay. I mean, I think they felt like it wasn't affecting the game. It had been raining since early on in the contest, raining hard, really.
With regard to the spring game and the kicking, not having your regular holder on Saturday. So if you're playing Tech, jack up the holder.
I mean, I get that the regular holder is important or whatever, but it shouldn't make that much of a difference.
Yeah. You've
unless you're using somebody that's never held before.
Yeah, you've got to be able to do that.
Shouldn't be that big a deal.
Bullfighter reminds us and me. Chuck says Will Hammond will be the starting quarterback for Tech football, set at 7:37, January 8th, 2025. And then should I change this?
Sounds like now he thinks it's Wake Forest that's going to start.
Jamie, can you explain the game-ending double play that Josh Young hit into? I watched the replay a dozen times and still thought it was foul outside the bag.
it was outside the bag before it got to the bag, but either because of some funky spin or it hit something, it went over the bag in fair territory. A ball can hit foul before it gets home or it gets to third or to first, and then come back in fair if it has some funky spin and it spun foul and then spun back into the field of play in fair territory. It's fair ball. And so the ball clearly went over the bag in fair territory. It was outside the line initially, yes, absolutely. But again, it must have hit something or it had some funky spin. I don't think it was the spin. I think it hit something, and it clogged a dirt or something that made it kick back fair. And it was over the bag when it got to third base. So it's a fair ball. That's a great job by the umpire.
Let's see. It is also National Random Drug Test Day. Drug test me all you want. That'll be fine.
Okay.
I mean, be fine.
I took a lot of drugs this morning, so
I mean,
I may get higher by
prescriptions
by Friday.
Jeff said, "I see what you did there and find it funny." What did he do there?
It would take entirely too long for me to explain it to you, Chuck.
Okay. All right. Well,
It is the 21st of April. The joke lies in there.
There's something about 420 that has something to do with smoking weed. I have no idea where it
that's
goes.
right. That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. That's okay. Well, so be it. 6:53 this morning here on the Morning Drive. We'll have Red Raider baseball on the air for you tonight as they take on Abilene Christian. 5:30 the broadcast time. 6 o'clock first pitch. Anybody getting an extra opportunity maybe to play some extra innings tonight in the field that you would have not seen maybe in a Big 12 game? Would this be an opportunity for some guys to get some innings tonight, Jamie?
I don't think anything out of the ordinary. I think that Peyton Schultz is definitely going to get an opportunity to play third base more after he had a great game in Game 3, and Garrett Bame's been kind of struggling a little bit. So I think you could see him beyond that. I don't know, maybe Jay Souza, who got his first playing time of the year on Saturday, maybe he would get some extra opportunities, but beyond that, probably I wouldn't guess so.
Not a whole lot. Okay. All right. Jamie and Jeff will have it for us tonight at 5:30, 6 o'clock play-by-play.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. You've come to the right place. Red Raider Sports lives on Double T 97.3.
7:15 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Good morning with Jamie Lent, Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. I feel like I own more polo pullover Texas Tech gear than I own anything else. Or it's got, whether it's got station logo on it or Texas Tech or Nike or Under Armour or
own more Tech gear than
Adidas
dress shirts.
I'm talking about pullover polos, collared pullover polos, not long sleeve shirts. Yeah, I think I do.
You must have a huge closet. Because you have a lot of dress shirts. To your credit, I'm not picking on you.
I have my own closet. Yeah. So, I don't know.
That's what's in the garage. Chuck's closet.
No, it's not. It's not in the closet. That's not in the garage. No. Stuff.
Cars? Cars?
Not presently. 7:16 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Every year, Dad puts a $100 bill in a plastic egg and hides it really well, and everybody looks for it. Well, it appears too many libations were consumed, and he forgot where he hid it, and we couldn't find it.
Oh, no.
That's just going to be like finding when you put your coat on for the first time in like November.
Wow.
And you stick your hand in your pocket and you find a $20 bill. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a great day when somebody finds that egg.
Yeah.
It'll be a great story to tell. It'll be a conversation starter for the weekend. It'll be awesome. And you'll have $100 in your pocket.
Yeah.
Or Dad is just smart and came up with the story.
Yeah.
And he never put one out there with $100.
Yeah. Let's see. No starting quarterback, no starting wide receivers had a lot to do with us not driving up for it. Plus, the weather was in the low 50s. Yeah, it was a little.
All makes sense to me.
A little dicey. All right. The kicking was not ideal at all on Saturday. Coach Joey McGuire certainly addressed that right after the spring event, spring practice, spring game. He was asked about it. They made one out of all their attempts, and here's Coach McGuire on the kicking concerns.
I actually, I was making my notes because I knew we'd have press after, and I said, be ready for a quick kicking question. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say no. It was really surprising because they have been elite in every situation that we've done. Our second scrimmage, they both kicked a 53 and 54-yard field goal in that red zone lockout, which was our last group. One of the tough things, and it's one of the deals that we will talk to them about and get them to understand, is they have to be what's next just like we do. And this is what I mean. Jack Burgess has the flu. He's our punter, so that's why we didn't do any live punts today. We've got some guys that are the backups, and I think everybody knows Baron Morton's a pretty elite punter too. But Jack is also our number one holder, and as we know, kickers are different. They're just different humans. And whenever they get out of their whack of just like a constant deal, I think that affected them a little bit today. Just the rhythm and everything. I thought the holds were good. That wasn't why, but I think it affected them a little bit today.
Maybe just timing and things like that, but you've got to overcome that.
I don't think timing would affect any kicker.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, I can't imagine the holder's timing was a big problem.
Maybe their timing with, I don't know. Just some of them didn't look. It's hard to tell because Jamie, I actually sat in the press box on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, actually, and as soon as I walked in, they all kind of looked at me, and they're. Even the sage of the AJ, Don Williams, I was going to sit next to him. He's like, I go, can I sit next to you, Don? If you don't talk too much. I'm like, well, okay. And then I thought, well, I can move down because I can't commit to that. And I don't want to just snuggle in next to you. I thought, well, there's plenty of seats down here.
You had coworkers in the press box.
I had one.
Sit next to them?
Well, he came up after. He was
No.
You were there?
I was there at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, you were there at 1 o'clock, but you were in the upper deck. I wanted to be down in the lower deck of the press box.
Our normal seat is where I was.
Yeah, he was probably in his normal seat. I'm not sure Jeff really wanted me to
sit with the elite Lubbock media.
No.
Not just us.
Completely, totally get it. I'd rather sit with Don Williams too.
Guys.
No, I mean, I didn't talk very much, Jamie, at all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
No, I believe that. No. I did not think during the entire spring game, geez, Chuck, it's the press box. Didn't have that conversation once with myself. So, yeah, I don't think I'm not sure Chuck talked during the spring game.
Yeah, I kept to myself.
To his credit.
I kept to myself. So that's one thing. Will Hammond, I think struggled. In this spring game. And here's Joey McGuire on his quarterback Will Hammond with the first team.
The one thing that I told him, like we were in the 2-minute drill, the first 2-minute drill, you can't take a sack there. Like the thing that quarterbacks get that they've got to continue, and this would be Barron, and this is around the country, you never hit them. It's never live. So they have this sometimes mentality that they can hold on to the ball a little bit longer than what they really can. And so they've got to speed things up. I think he did a better job in the red zone lockout of speeding things up. That was one thing whenever I said, one, you can't take that sack. And two, it's a new offense, but he has to speed up the operation. Like we had a pre-snap penalty on Jacob Ponton coming out of his stance. There's no excuse that Jacob, he's got to stay in his stance, but you got to get the motion going. You got to be in a rhythm. it can't take forever to the ball getting snapped. And so that's not just Will being young. That's us being in a new offense that we've got to continue to get better in our operations.
But, man, I thought that Mitch Griffiths was he showed that he was a Division I quarterback and had played a lot at Wake Forest and won ACC games. Now, again, do I think he's the second string quarterback now? I don't think so, but he looked better on Saturday, right, Jeff? Don't you think? Without question.
I don't know that either one of them looked good. I don't know that either one of them looked bad.
So
you had
who looked the best on Saturday, you're telling me, is Baron Morton?
Well, he was running around in a red shirt and holding kicks.
My point is that you've questioned whether he'll be the starting quarterback or not, and you see these two, and you two are telling me, hey, neither one of them looked great, or the guy, Will Hammond, that you thought was going to be the starter didn't look great, so ultimately that makes Baron Morton look better.
Yeah, but my concern about Baron has always been about the rehab of his shoulder, not necessarily not everything about him.
Yeah, you've not been sold on Baron Morton. Even before the injury stuff. To
a degree, yeah, and I like him. I've just not been totally sold on him.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
You're not rooting against him.
Yeah, we don't need you to have to be best friends with him.
Yeah,
You're allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah, I'm just curious about that. I'm still curious about that. 7:23 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that, or the mobile app, the visual. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You finish your spiel. I thought you were done with the sponsor thing. Go ahead. Sponsors are important.
Visual Edge IT hotline is 806-771-0973. I can't say the phone number without saying Visual Edge IT because it's in my head like that.
Right. I interrupted you. I apologize.
Even when I'm trying to call this place, it's like, okay, what's the daggum phone number? Then I'll have to go through the spiel in my head.
I did like how it felt like you were doing a lot better job of attacking the middle and using some crossing routes across the middle in the new offense. Didn't see a lot of that over the last couple of years. Did still see some sideline screens, but it didn't feel as prevalent as it has in the past. And they also seem to be a lot more effective. So as good as your defensive line looked, there were some things that looked really good on the offense for what you had.
One thing about Griffiths, Coach McGuire said he threw up like 20 times before the game. They tested him for the flu, but he didn't have it. But his grandparents had driven here, and he said, Coach, I'm playing. I'm not going to not play because my grandparents made the effort to get here. So
that was nice of him.
That was very nice of him. Yeah, absolutely.
This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
Okay, so this is going to be a weird question today.
I think we excel at this.
And the answer may just be based on which sport you enjoy the most.
Okay.
Which, that happens too.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to talk exhibition events.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Which would you prefer? Okay.
Okay.
Which would you prefer? Would you prefer an alumni basketball game with former Red Raider players? Okay. Would you prefer a former Red Raider player alumni baseball game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or would you prefer a football event kind of day that encompassed a lot of the things like the NFL does at the Pro Bowl? Competitions with quarterbacks.
Tug of war.
Stuff like that with the football team. Having some fun, doing some different things. Okay? I didn't put an alumni football game in that because you just don't do that.
Right.
You just don't do that. Okay? But current players competing in different events that would be, events that you could see some skill and that kind of thing, but it wouldn't be pure football.
With the current team.
Yeah, with the current members of the team. But the other two events are alumni events.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the football, that type of thing. The current team, pro-style kind of exhibition kind of things of throwing the football, catching, maybe field goal kicker has got to kick to a spot, or tug of war, or can somebody throw it out of the stadium or something like that. I'd rather see something like that with current players than alumni games, because it saddens me when I see guys that have, because we all get old and we all lose our skill set, but the drop off from a Major League Baseball player in those old-timer games. Just it saddens me to see those guys do that. I'd rather just have them come out there and take a bow as opposed to, try to play again, because you have this memory in your head, and they never get old. And then you see them when they get old, and you're like, oh God, that guy's gotten old, he's gotten fat, he's out of shape, he can't throw, can't hit, And the same thing with the basketball, just the guys getting up and down the floor, they're huffing and puffing and kind of making a shimokkery out of the game, and I feel like it diminishes things. So give me the football skills competition.
This one is so hard. It's between basketball and football. I mean, basketball and baseball. Because you do the baseball where you get some of the former major leaguers or some major leaguers come in the spring, right? They come hang out for a couple of days. You do an alumni game where they play the current Red Raiders. Everyone's kind of going 3/4 speed, but you're also having some fun with it. There's an element of that can be an absolute blast. You get to see those guys up close and personal. They get to hang out with the team, which they are allowed to do anyway. But, that back and forth between college and pros can happen there. You get to see some of and we're talking baseball here. You're not running into each other at full speed and tackling. There's also an element, though, of, I know they didn't go here, but why wouldn't I want to see Magic and Larry on a court together? Just messing around, just absolutely having fun with it, enjoying each other's company on a basketball court. I think I'm going to go baseball because it's probably closer to what the actual game could be, between those two elements. But it's close. It's close.
I think the football thing would be really fun for 1 year. I think I would be intrigued by it for 1 year. I think after that it would probably wear off for me. Okay. Again, it's just different, and so I think I would be, that'll be fun. That'll be something we haven't seen before, so I think I would really enjoy it, but I don't think I would enjoy it that much every single year. I thought the thing that they did with baseball a couple years ago, the alumni event, which was a softball game, was awesome. And I don't mean to, pat him on the back just because he's our friend and coworker, but I thought part of it being great was Gus was awesome, okay? And he had a microphone, and he walked around on the field during the event and was interviewing guys as the game was going on.
Okay.
And Gus, who has great knowledge of Tech baseball, and all of these guys had done his homework, and they have great rapport with him, and so it was a lot of fun. It was an absolute blast. I thought they did a terrific job. I mean, Tadlock homered, all that good stuff. So that was even a lot of fun. But I think the one that I would choose would be the basketball event, because I think basketballers having fun, going up and down the court, the different eras, all of that is fun. It's sad to me, Chuck, that you feel so sad when you see guys that are superstars of the past, that you see them not be who they once were, because I think it humanizes them to see them at an older age, and they're like, hey, they're just guys just like us.
Yeah.
And you appreciate the fact that, hey, they're just guys. They're people.
I know.
And they maybe have gotten a little bit heavier, and they're just humans.
I think
it makes them just become more real. They're not robots. They weren't put here by some alien spacecraft to be super athletes, and they don't breathe and drink and age like the rest of us do.
I know, but I just kind of.
And if you are remembering them for that, that's on you, dude.
Well, I was just saying to you, I just don't like it. I mean, I'd rather them just go out and kind of take a bow as opposed to go out there and try to run around the bases again, because they can't do it the way that they used to be able to do it. It's not even close.
I don't know. I think that's fun.
Okay.
I do. Right. I think it's all fun. Again, it humanizes them. It shows that they're not afraid to kind of make fun of themselves a little bit, that I'm not the same guy that I once was, and have fun in that regard. So my choice would be the alumni basketball game. Yeah.
Probably if you eliminated the football exhibition skill kind of stuff, I'd probably say the basketball. But I do think if you had the basketball and you had them mic'd up, kind of like what Gus did, you had somebody that had that ability to do that might be kind of cool.
Man, he was awesome. It was so much fun, and the guys,
enjoyed
they're
that.
sitting there waiting for the next pitch while they're talking to Gus, out there at second base. So it was really cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's when you do something like that, it makes it really fun. All right, well, if you have a thought on that, hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
With Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you from the First United Bank studio here in downtown Lubbock. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet973.com for that, of the mobile app. The Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. One of the things that Coach McGuire was asked about after the scrimmage, spring game event, whatever you want to call it, was if they felt like the running backs, if there was a big play guy, home run hitter, I think it was the question, at running back. And he felt like that all three of the running backs have that big play ability. Okay,
good news.
Yeah, and he said that when he was talking about Quinn Joyner got a touchdown in the ball game. It was interesting. Quinn Joyner and Cameron Valdez have the same number at 0 on offense. I think Cameron probably not going to have that number when it comes to.
Chuck was quite annoyed at that during the press conference. I mean, during the practice.
Well, I mean, because we were looking down there and like 0, and then it's like Cameron Valdez and Quentin Joyner.
Yeah, both offensive players.
Yeah,
that's a little annoying.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's practice,
but one needs to give it up, and Cameron.
What, are you afraid to say no to somebody?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe Cameron.
Maybe he tore his regular jersey and they're having to get it fixed.
Like I said, all I know is that two of them were there, and Quentin Joyner had ran for a touchdown on the last drive of the game, and they were not in thud at that point in time. They were live at that point in time. So Coach McGuire was glad to see him break away and have a touchdown there at the end.
Would you like to explain to me what thud
I guess thud is they're kind of blocking, but they're not really going after each other on the offensive line of scrimmage.
You're not taking the guy to the ground. Yeah. As soon as you hit, that's when the play ends. That's what thud is.
Yeah. So it's
okay. Is there does it stand for something?
I think it's when you hear the thud.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Then you stop playing.
That's the play. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. As opposed to a whistle.
And both are listed on the roster as number 0. So it wasn't about his jersey was torn.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's practice. I'm not worried about it.
And then
they'll fix it before the game.
As is Skylar Gill Howard, a defensive lineman listed at 0.
But you can have
right,
offensive, defensive players.
Defensive side.
Right. And then he talked about Jacoby Williams. He talked about how durable and how tough he is. He said we saw that in the bowl game, and then the other one as well, Cameron Dickey. He played a little bit as well. So he feels like all three of those guys have kind of big playability. He was asked about the defensive line and kind of their pass rush and how they played. And here's Coach McGuire on the defensive line and the pass rush in the spring game.
Man, with the guys that we have, we better. We better whenever you have the not just the Mello and David and Chuck and when Terrell's back healthy, I think Chetta. I always look whenever I think of injuries on the bright side of like who's going to get those reps. Chetta has had a really last few weeks, 2 weeks since Terrell went down. I do think with the guys that we have and the depth we have in the defensive line that we should be able to pressure the quarterback at a higher level, especially just rushing 4. That's kind of one of the reasons I think I said this last time why we added David is we just kind of looked like what would the Philadelphia Eagles do. They've drafted defensive line after defensive line and, rush. I don't think they blitzed one time in the playoffs. And so that was good. And then Of course, it's also a little concerning of some of that. But some of that, too, is design. Like we moved the pocket a couple of times. I thought John Carlos Miller, we had a catch on the sideline, and I thought JC did a great job of kind of bending back, not getting any kind of penalty for a blindside block and letting Will escape when we were moving the pocket.
Because I think there was also some concern about the offensive line and what they were giving up, and that was part of his point of with the defensive line that we have and the size that we have, they should be getting after the quarterback.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but on the other hand, you paid a lot of money for your offensive line too, and you'd like to see them thwart the defensive line from time to time.
You would like that. Mm-hmm.
I will tell you this, and it's hard when, as you well know, when you're sitting up there 13 stories away to kind of determine size, but even sitting in the press box, looking down at Howard Sampson, who's number 79 at 6'8", 340. He's a large man. Mm-hmm. I mean, he is a.
You could just look at the piece of paper there that says 6'8", 340.
I know, right?
Yeah, you really don't even have to see.
But when you look down there and you went, "Oh my, that's a big human down there." I did feel like I made this note to myself. I made this note during the spring game Saturday. I felt like the defensive backs were all over the wide receivers. Now, you could make the case, well, you didn't have your, Caleb Douglases and Coy Aikens and your big three in terms of your receivers, but I don't know. I felt like that was, and Reggie Virgil, but I just felt like that at least the DBs were all over the wide receivers.
It's good.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things like, okay, well, is that because you had your twos in, or is that because you had your threes in, or is that because your ones weren't playing? Hell, I don't know. But Leighton Stone made some good plays. He caught a touchdown in traffic, and so it showed his playmaking ability. So that was a highlight of the day.
I think he's going to be a good one.
He's got that potential, doesn't he? He sure does. So anyway, that was
athletic freak.
Somebody said this with regard to the chat line. Cameron Valdez isn't playing, still injured. Okay, I'm not sure who's on the injured list and who isn't because they didn't produce an injured list. And somebody else says, well, they both can wear it. They just can't be on the field at the same time unless I'm wrong. No, you're right. They can't be on the field at the same time, which kind of makes you feel like, well, why do you have 2 zeros on offense? Because why do you want that kind of confusion when you could have a penalty for having them both on the field at the same time?
Yeah, I don't know. That's odd.
It is odd.
It feels like to me that the writing's on the wall there.
For Cameron?
Well, that they feel like one of them's not going to play or be on the team.
He didn't bring the guy in from USC just to be here for spring semester. It's really odd.
Yeah. But, oh well.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet973.com.